Hi guys, we're going to continue our reading journey and today's story, Mammon and the Archer. Let's begin. Old Anthony Rockwell, retired manufacturer and proprietor, propri- proprietor of Rockwell's Erica Soap, looked out the library window of his Fifth Avenue mansion and grinned. His neighbor to the right, the aristocratic clubman G1 Shylite Suffolk Jones, came out to his waiting motor car, wrinkling and contemptuous nostril, as usual, at the Italian Renaissance sculpture of the Palace's front elevation. S- Stuck up old statuette of nothing doing, commanded the ex-soap king. The Eden muscle, the Eden moose, will get it all frozen Nestle Road yet, if you don't watch out. I'll have this house painted red, white, and blue next summer and see if that will make his Dutch noise turn up any higher. And then Anthony Rockwell, who never cared for bells, went to the door of his library and shouted, Mike, in the same voice that had once chipped off pieces of the welkin on the Kansas prayers. Tell my son Saint Anthony to to the answering manual to come in here before he leaves the house. When young Rockwell entered the library, the old man laid aside his newspaper, looked at him, and kindly grimness of his big, smooth, ruddy countenance rumpled his mop of white hair with one hand and rattled the case in his pocket with the other. Richard, said Anthony Rockwell, what do you pay for this soap that you use? Richard, only months home from college, was startled a little. He had not yet taken the measure of his, of this seer of his, who was as full of unexpectedness as a girl at his first party. $6 a dozen, I think that. And do you clothes? I suppose about $60 as a rule. You're a gentleman, said Anthony decidedly. I've heard of these young bloods spending 24 a dozen for soap and going over the 100 mark of clothes. You've got as much money to waste as any of them, and yet you stick to what decent and moderate. Now I use that old Eureka not only for statement, but it's a purest soap made. Whenever you pay more than 10 cents a kick for soap, you buy bad perfumes and labels. But 50 cents is doing very well for a young man in your generation, position, and condition. As I said, you're a gentleman. They say it takes three generations to make one. Do your off. Money will do it as slick as soap grease. It's made you one. By hockey, it's almost made one of me. I'm nearly too impolite and disagreeable and ill-mannered. And these two old knickerbockers, gents on each side of me that I can sleep off nights because I bought in between them. There are some things that money can't accomplish, remarked young Rockwell rather gloomily. No, don't say that, said old Anthony, shocked. I bet my money on money every time. I've been through the encyclopedia down down to Egret, looking for something that you can buy for it. And I expect to have and and I expect to have to take up the appendix next week. And for money against the field. Tell me something money won't buy. For one thing, answered Richard, rankling a little, it won't buy one of the exclusive circles of society. Oh, won't it? Hundred of champion of the root of evil. You tell me where your exclusive circles would be if their first Esther hadn't had the money to pay for his steerage passage over. Richard sighed. And that's why I was coming too, said the old man less boisterously. Boisterously. That's why I asked you to come in. There is something going wrong with you, boy. I've been noticing it for 2 weeks. Out, out with it. I guess I could lay my hands on 11 millions within 24 hours. Besides the real estate. If it's your liver, there's the Rambler down in the bay, cold and ready to stream down to the Bahamas in 2 days. Not a bad guess, Dad. You haven't missed it far. Ah, said Anthony keenly. What's your name? Richard began to walk up and down the library floor. There was enough camaraderie, comradeship and sympathy in the crude in this crude old father and his to draw his confidence. Why don't you ask her? Demanded old Anthony. She'll jump at you. You got the money and the looks, and you're a decent boy. Your hands are clean. You've got no Erica soap on them. You've been to college, but she'll overlook that. I haven't had a chance, said Richard. Make one, said Anthony. Take her for a walk in the park, or a stroll ride, or walk home with her from church. Chance. Show. You don't know the social meal that. She's part of the stream that turns it. Every hour and minute of her time is arranged for days in advance. I must have that girl that, or or this town is a blackjack swamp forevermore. And I can write it. I can do that. Can't do that. Tut, said the old man. Do you mean to tell me that with all the money I've got you can get an hour or two of a girl time for yourself? I've put it off too late. She's going to sail for Europe at noonday after tomorrow for 2 years stay. I'm to see her alone tomorrow evening for a few minutes. She is at Lechmont now, at her aunt's. I can't go there, but I'm allowed to meet her with a cab at Grand Central Station tomorrow evening at 8:30 train. At the 8:30 train. We drive down Broadway to Wallace, Wallace, Wallace's at a gallop, where her mother and a box party will be waiting for us in the lobby. Do you think she would listen to a declaration from me during those 6 or 8 minutes under those circumstances? No. And what chance would I have in the theater or afterward? No, that this one of the tangle that your money can unravel. We can't buy 1 minute of time with cash. If we could, rich people would live longer. There is no hope of getting a talk with Miss Lanter before she sails. All right, Richard, my boy, said old Anthony cheerfully. You may run along down to your club now. I'm glad. I'm glad it and your liver. But don't forget to burn a few punk sticks in the Job's house to the great god Mazumov from time to time. You say money one by time? Well, of course, you can't order entirely wrapped up and delivered at your residence for a price. But I've seen a father time get pretty bad stone bruises on his scales when he walked through the gold diggings. That night, that night came Aunt Ellen, gentle, sentimental, wrinkled, si- sighing, oppressed by wealth, into the into brother Anthony and his evening paper, and began discourse on the subject of lovers' woes, woes, woes. He told me about it, said brother Anthony, yawning, yawning. I told him my bank account was at his service, and then he began to knock money. Said money couldn't help. Said the rules of society couldn't be buckled for a yard by a team of 10 millionaires. Oh, Anthony, sighed Aunt Ellen, I wish you would not think so much of money. I wish you wouldn't think so much of money. Wealth, if nothing were a true affection, is concer- concerned. Love is all powerful. If he only have had spoken earlier, she could not have refused our Richard. But now I fear it's too late. He will have this opportunity to address her. He will have no opportunity to address her. All young, all young, all your gold cannot bring happiness to you, son. At 8 o'clock the next evening, Aunt Ella took a quaint old gold ring from a moth-eaten case and gave it to Richard. Where tonight, nephew? She began. She begged. Your mother gave it to me. Good luck with in love, she said in it broke. She asked me to give it to you when you had found the one you loved. Young Rockwell took the ring reverently and tried it his smallest finger. It slipped as far as the second joint as the second joint and stopped. He took it off and stuffed into the his waist pocket after the manner of man. And then he phoned for his cab. At the station, he captured Miss Laundry out of the getting mob. Interesting. Getting mob at 8:32. We mustn't keep Mama and the other waiting, said she. To Wackwell's Theatre as fast as you can travel, said Richard loyally. They reeled up 40 seconds to Broadway and then down the wide-starred lane that leads from the soft meadows of sunset to the rocky hills of morning. At 34th Street, young Richard quickly first up the trap and ordered the cabman to stop. I've dropped the ring, he apologized as he climbed out. It was my mother's, and I hate to lose it. I won't detain you a minute. I saw where I fell it. In less than a minute, he was back in the cab with the ring. But within that minute, a cross-town car had stopped directly in front of the cab. The cabman tried to pass to the left, but a heavily express wagon cut him off. He tried to the right and had to back away from the furniture van that had no business to be there. He tried to back out but dropped his reins and swore dutifully. He was blockaded in a tangled mass of vehicles and horses. One of those street blockades had occurred that sometimes tie up commerce and movement quiet suddenly in a big city. Why don't you drive on? Said Miss Lantry impatiently. Impatiently. We'll be late. Richard stood up in the cab and looked around. He saw a congested flood of wagons, trucks, cabs, vans, and streetcars filling the west space where Broadway, 6th Avenue, and 34th Street crossed one another at 26-inch maiden fills. As a 26-inch maiden fills her 22-inch grindle. And still, from all the cross streets, they were hurrying and rattling toward the converging point at full speed, and hurling themselves into the struggling mass, locking wheels and adding their drivers' imprecation, imprecations to the clamor. The entire traffic on Manhattan, on the entire traffic of Manhattan seemed to have jammed instead of itself around them. The oldest New Yorker Among this thousand of spectators that lined the sidewalks had not witnessed a street blockade of the proportions of this one. I'm very sorry, said Richard as he resumed his seat. But it looks as if we are stuck. They won't get this jumble loosened up in an hour. It was my fault. If I hadn't dropped the ring, we. Let me see the ring, said Miss Lantry. Now that I can be helped, I don't care. I think theaters are stupid anyway. At 11 o'clock that night, somebody tapped lightly on Anthony's Rockwell door. Come in, shouted Anthony, who was in a dressing gown, reading a book of practical adventures. Somebody was Aunt Ellen, looking like a gray-haired angel that had been left on Earth by mistake. They are engaged, Anthony, she said softly. She has promised to marry our Richard. On their way to the theater, there was a street blockade, and it was 2 hours before their cab could get out of it. And oh, brother Anthony, don't ever boast of the power of money again. A little emblem of true love, a little ring that symbolized unending, unending and unmercenary affection, was the cause of our Richard feeling his happiness. He dropped it in the street and got out to recover it, and before they could continue the blockade occurred, he spoke to his love and won her there while the cab was hammered in. Money is dross compared with true love, Anthony. All right, said old Anthony. I'm glad the boy has got where he had wanted. I told him I wouldn't spare any expense in in the matter if, but uh, but brother Anthony, what what good could your money have done? Sister, said Anthony Rockwell, I've got my period in a devil of a scrape. His ship has just been scuttled, and he's too good a judge of money, of the value of money to let drown. I wish you would let me go on with this chapter. The story should end here. I wish I would, as heartily as you who read it wish I did. I wish it would as heartily, I wish it would as heartily as you who read it wish it did. But we must go to the bottom of the well for truth. The next day, a person with red hands and blue polka dot neck necktie, who called himself Kelly, called at Anthony Roxwell's house and was at once received in the library. Well, said Anthony, reaching for the check for his checkbook, it was a good billion of soap. Let's see, you had 5,000 in cash. I paid out 300 more of my one," said Kelly. "I had to go a little above the estimate. I got the express wagons and cabs mostly for 5, but the trucks and two-horse teams mostly raised me to 10. The motorman wanted 10, and some of the loaded teams 20. The cops struck me hardest, 50. I paid 2, I paid 2, and the rest 20, and the rest 20 and 25. But didn't it work beautiful, Mr. Rockwell? I'm glad William A. Brady wasn't on that little outdoor vehicle mob scene. I wouldn't want William to break his heart with jealousy and never uh, Rach, Rachsal either. The boys was on time to the fraction of the second. It was 2 hours before a snake could get below Greeley's statue. 1300. There you are, Kelly, said Anthony, tearing off a check. Your 1,030 you were out. You don't despise money, do you, Kelly? This despise. You don't despise money, don't you, Kelly? Me, said Kelly. I can't lick the man that invented poverty. Anthony called Kelly when he was at the door. You didn't notice, said he. Anywhere in the tie-up, a kind of a fat boy without any clothes, on shooting arrows around with a bow, didn't you? Why no? Said Kelly, mystified. I didn't. If he was like you say, maybe the cops pinched him before I got there. I thought the I thought the little Rachel wouldn't be on hand, chuckled Anthony. Goodbye, Kelly. Okay, guys, that's it for today, and see you tomorrow. Thank you.